So, I just finished watching season 2 of 13 Reasons Why. And wow. So, recently, I had never heard of this show, and I did find out that it was apparently a book years ago. However, people have been talking about season 2 coming out, and I never heard of the show. So, over the past weekend, I binge watched season 1 and season 2. So, guys, I'm going to have some spoilers in here. And if you don't want any spoilers, you can turn this video off right now. But if you're fine with it, continue to watch. So first off, 13 Reasons Why is basically about this girl, Hannah Baker, who commits suicide before technically the first episode ever happens. And she created 13 tapes, which were reasons as to why she did what she did. And these tapes were circulated to the people who had wronged her, to the people who kind of influenced her decision. And it's a very emotional toll that just watching this show kind of gives you. And I don't want to say the premise for this show is a good one, because it's really not. Like, don't get me wrong, the show itself was fantastic. However, it's a very touchy subject, obviously. But it also touched on a lot of issues that are kind of prevalent in modern society that I don't think should be ignored, from bullying to assault to just kind of the whole status quo in high school about the popular kids, how they were seemingly like untouchable, and the people who were getting bullied, no one really wanted to help them, and that kind of is what led to Hannah's suicide in the long run. Now in season 1, it was interesting because it kind of played back modern day in flashback. So what I mean by that is, what I liked too about that was you kind of saw everyone in modern times kind of trying to cope and get justice for Hannah, and realize that as they listened to these tapes, they realized what they did wrong to her, and pretty much these tapes would throw like the flashbacks into her story, into her eyes, as to what she was dealing with, what she was going on with, and it made it very relatable in a sense, because the world's a cruel place, and people are going to hurt you, and I don't think people realize that what they do to you negatively, it might drive you off like the edge per se, for the sheer fact that they might think they're the only ones doing it to you, but at the end of the day, you could have everyone doing it to you, and that one person causing the issue might not think it's that big of a deal, but people don't realize their effects that their words and their actions have on other people, and that's kind of what I kind of got as the message of this story. Now, it's kind of graphic through parts of this show. The things they show Hannah killing herself in a bathtub, slitting her own wrist, and watching that kind of made my stomach turn a little bit. And it's interesting too, because you see how good like everything kind of seemed. It kind of seemed at points like it was normal high school shenanigans, but that's the problem, is that in modern society, certain aspects of bullying are just considered normal when they should be addressed. One of my main characters that I loved in this show was the guidance counselor, because he didn't do enough to help save Hannah. He kind of let her walk out of the door when she came to him for help. And through the rest of like the show, at least up until this point, he has this internal conflict going on with himself as to knowing he could have done more. And that's shown more prevalent in season 2. Now there's also a guy named Clay who he was like in love with Hannah, and he's kind of the one affected the most by this, because in season 2, as we'll get into, he kind of starts hallucinating or seeing her ghost, or it's like his nerves getting the best of him, because everything's still on his mind of what happened, things he's learning about her, who he thought in his eyes was perfect, and he finds out a lot of things about her that he didn't know, and it kind of drives him crazy. Now, one of the biggest perpetrators in this show are the Jocks, the baseball team. Turns out, needless to say, their team captain is somewhat of a rapist, and it's not cool, but he also has like his henchmen who will do anything they can to defend him, I guess because it's that team mentality, instead of standing up and doing what's right. So in my eyes, one's guilty, they're all guilty because they're defending him. One of the guys, Zach, he kind of fights back against that, and works with Hannah's friends to try to bring justice. You know, what kind of kills me too is that Bryce only gets 3 months probation for the assault because they view it as a first-time offense. But if you watch through the season, it was a multiple-time offense to multiple different people who were just too afraid to speak up, and that's another issue and another instance of modern society kind of shining its rights. People, when they're assaulted, when they're bullied, a lot of them are afraid to speak up, it seems, because of fear of repercussion. And it's, you know, it's just a mentality that's kind of become accustomed in this society because of bullying and how things kind of happen where, you know, when you're trying to just save yourself, the moment you speak out against other people who have more power than you, they find a way to intimidate you, to make you stop telling the story so that they don't look bad. And you know, one of the big aspects of season 2 is this trial that's going on from Hannah's family versus the school board of ed, I think, or it's just the school in general, as to trying to bring justice to their daughter's suicide based on trying to fight the fact that the school knew about it and did nothing to stop it. Which, the issue with that too is the fact that they viewed it that the school like wasn't held accountable. When you listen to all those tapes and you listen to everything that happened, the school should have been held 100% accountable, and it makes me wonder too if Bryce's parents, because they're viewed as rich people who have this rich lawyer, who find a way to get him sort of acquitted, like with minimal charges. He has the 3 months probation, but aside from that, he kind of gets off scot-clean. It makes you wonder if his parents kind of had the judge in their pocket, even though his mom showed views of sensibility when she started questioning everything her son was doing. The father wanted to turn the blind eye to everything, and you know, he just seemed kind of scummy, that he just viewed like his kid could do no wrong, when the mother kind of saw it. She saw through like the whole act, and she tried to entice him. She actually got an answer out of him in the long run, and she said, you were basically disowned by the family. And, you know, one of the interesting things, too, is that there's this kid, Tyler, who's just constantly bullied. And then he kind of finds acceptance, only to get, like, put into a program because he, like, trespassed and destroyed school property. For his day back, this dirtbag Montgomery kind of attacks and rapes him in the bathroom. Which I know this is probably the scene everyone was talking about being too graphic. They should have never showed it. And to me, it was a little distasteful. I watched it. I cringed. The whole scene. And the thing is, too, is in certain places, these acts are common. I don't know how common they are nowadays, but I've heard stories about them being prevalent in the past. And yet again, the school kind of turned a blind eye to it. Whether or not they knew, because it didn't seem like Tyler reported it, but it kind of at the same time drove him off the deep end, which at the end of season 2, they kind of played it off like there was going to be a school shooting at the dance, which to me, I was very, very on edge about that. If that would have happened in the show, I probably would have stopped watching, because with all like the school shootings going on in modern times, it would have just kind of hit a sore spot. But the thing is, luckily they were able to talk him out of it, which I was really okay with, and they left the season on kind of a cliffhanger, which it's going to be interesting to see how they pick it up. But overall, you know, the show throughout, a lot of it hit a lot of emotional tolls with me. It made you feel a whole lot of different feeling, from guilt to regret to just kind of feeling the need for justice, but at the same time, like, just kind of feeling for the things Hannah kind of dealt with as she made this list as to, like, why she did what she did, took her own life, even though it was found out later on that she had a list of reasons why not. And her list, the whys outnumbered the why nots, and it's kind of sad to see that, because that's kind of, I guess, how she decided. And, you know, it's tough to think about this show as just a show. For the fact that a lot of these issues that are posed in this series are common issues. Whether or not schools, whether or not people want to admit it to themselves that these things actually happen, because they do. It's been shown time and time again on the news, on the internet. You hear about bullying, you hear about sexual assault all the time. And, you know, it's a matter that people try to sweep under the rugs. But at the same time, when the schools try to sweep it under the rugs, like this school did, they did everything to try to make it look like their athletic program was, you know, the perfect athletic program, and the fact that everyone on that team was a star individual, when, you know, they're all guilty for everything that had happened because they all knew about it and they refused to do anything about it aside from Zach. Now you see, like, these are issues that are still prevalent in modern society, which, you know, a lot of us know it, a lot of us have seen it, some of us may have dealt with it. And these are issues that schools need to address, because at the same time as the parents need to hold their kids accountable for what they've done and be there for their kids for what they're going through. You know, 9 times out of 10, when you're a school student, you're in school 8 hours a day, and you see your parents maybe an hour before you go to school, and then if they're working, you see them as you're getting ready to go to bed. You're in school most of the day, and these authority figures have more view over your life a lot of the times, aside from the weekends, than your family does. You know, it's very touching of a subject for this show to have hit all these different rough spots in modern society that I mentioned are kind of just swept under the rug. But I think more people need to take notice of it. And I think one of the things that this show was trying to teach and accomplish was that if you're going through something like this, don't be afraid to speak up. Reach out and find help before, you know, it becomes too late, before you hit a really dark spot. You know, I did think the show was well put together. A little graphic at points, a little eerie, a little uncomfortable at points. But the message that they portrayed made all the sense in the world. You know, because things like this can't be ignored, guys. If you guys are being bullied, if you guys are being beat up, if you guys are being abused, intimidated, reach out. Speak out. Find an adult, find an authority figure, a teacher. And if a teacher wants to shrug you off, find another. Because I guarantee, like Mr. Porter was the guidance counselor, who deep down, he knew he could have done a lot more to help. And that guilt kind of drove him through season 2. There's always going to be someone out there that will help you. Whether it's your friends, whether it's, you know, a random stranger on the street. Because sometimes you meet the best people in your life out of nowhere. Guys, that's my thoughts and kind of my review and my take on what I took away from 13 Reasons Why. A show that, you know, just shows the downfall of a young girl's life, from what she got bullied by, from what she went through, to things she was going through at home, and just, you know, the weight of the world just weighed down on her and just made her feel worthless and that she had nothing. Guys, if you feel like that, find help. You know, I don't want to say that like meanly, but there's always a place you could reach out to. There's always someone you can talk to. Hell, you can talk to me. I'll be there for you. You know, I've had friends that have gone through rough times. I've gone through a hell of a lot of rough times in my life. So whatever you need, guys, if you need to reach out, reach out. That's my thoughts on this show. That's my thoughts on the messages that this show kind of portrayed. You know, if you want to leave your comments below on what you thought this show kind of gave across to you, feel free. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Until next time, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Have a good one.